Greetings, Titans! Welcome to Dave on the Move. I'm Dave, welcome to Dave Takes It On. Now, we're looking into Legacy Auto. So we've been up to Gretna Green this morning, done some filming there. Fabulous place. They've got 3 Tesla superchargers in what is just a fairly average town. One has 16 chargers, one has 12, one has 14. It's an amazing amount of Tesla superchargers for such a small location. And it answers one of those questions, which is, have we got enough chargers? Well, there's about 40 chargers there. It's an amazing amount for a town that size. It's on the main route, it's on the M6, well, the end of the M6, the start of the A74M. So it's a good location. Anyone going to or from Scotland virtually has to pass this if you're on the west coast. And so it is a really good location. And if you're coming from anywhere in Scotland, Edinburgh, Glasgow, Perth or beyond, this will be a point where you're starting to run low on your battery, and so a good charging point. And if you're heading north from England into Scotland, again, if you set off from London, Midlands or the southeast, a lot of cars will get this far, and then they'll be needing to charge. So really good location. But we've just been looking into some of the Legacy Auto. There's a lot of stories coming out. We get a news feed all the time, so we can see what's going on. And they seem to be in a terminal spiral at the moment. So I'm just going to briefly explain what's going on with them, because it's very interesting. All cars now have to meet certain emission standards. This is America, China, UK, Europe. It doesn't matter where you are, you have emission standards. And if you don't meet those standards, if your cars produce too much pollution, then you either get fined or you buy carbon credits. And the carbon credits are effectively a way of just wiping out the emissions. If you produce 100 units of pollution and you buy 100 units of green carbon credits, they cancel each other out. So for companies like Lamborghini, Ferrari, McLaren, Mercedes, AMG, where they don't make a realistic EV, they have no choice. Their cars can't possibly meet all the standards, so they get fined, or they have to buy these carbon credits, and they buy them, unfortunately, for them from one of the greenest companies around, which is Tesla. Tesla's a net exporter of energy and net carbon neutral, totally neutral. They have solar panels on all the roofs of the factories, all of the showrooms, all the service centres. They have solar panels at a lot of their charging locations. And obviously they supply solar panels to various houses, mainly in America. And they actually produce more green energy than they use total energy for the year. So they're actually amassing these carbon credits. They're getting really rich in them, and they're quite happy to sell them, and they have a value. And the companies like Lamborghini, Ferrari and McLaren, who can't have a hope of making the cars meet the emission standards and still get the performance they have, they just buy these credits off Tesla. It's bone of contention with some people saying, well, if it wasn't for them, Tesla wouldn't be profitable as a company. But yeah, it's just one of those things. If they have these carbon credits and someone wants to buy them, it's just part of your turnover. Tesla's spent a lot of money investing in producing, or net carbon zero, producing their own electricity from renewable resources, and therefore this is the reward they get from it. It's part of the business. So Legacy Auto now, let's look at the mainstream ones, the Fords and the Peugeots and the Citroens, or Stellantis in other words, Volkswagen, Mercedes, BMW. And they're in a bit of a problem. You see, their core business for 100 years has been making ICE cars. That's it, ICE cars. And then recently it was dabbling into hybrids, which is their attempt, if you like, at going electric. They knew it wasn't going to last. It's a stopgap. But they made some hybrids that actually cut the emissions they make, so that benefited them. But they needed still more. They were still having to either get fined or buy carbon credits. So they decided to have a dabble into EVs. So all of them decide, let's make EVs. But they were all seemingly given the one objective, and that is, doesn't matter what you do, you must not affect our core business. We want to keep on selling ICE cars and hybrid cars in the same number. Don't try and kill off our existing business. So anything you make in an EV must be worse than the ICE or hybrid equivalent. Don't care what you do, it can't be good, it can't be cheaper, can't be better, can't have features that they don't get, etc. And so it was a half-hearted attempt. Well, if we make them and nobody buys them, we still get the carbon credits for them, because we made them. The fact that nobody wants them is a different issue altogether. So they ended up having a dabble at these EVs. They had virtually handmade them. It wasn't worth investing in production lines specifically to make them in mass numbers if they weren't keen or interested in making them in mass numbers. It was more of an exercise in, let's have a go at it, see if we can do it, and let's also just grab the carbon credits that those cars will earn us. And of course, it all came crashing down because none of the legacy autos made any money at all out of EVs. In fact, if you look at Ford, they reckon it's approaching, if you look at the total amount they spent and number of cars, it equates to about $100,000 loss per car sold. And you can't keep that going forever. So that's a bit of a failure. It failed because they were hugely expensive, very inferior technology. They were built on the cheap, no real standards, no real high-tech anything. It was just a dabble into it, and they got the carbon credits, but they weren't enough. So they're still facing these fines for producing too many emissions or having to buy more carbon credits, and buying carbon credits is one of the answers. But either way, it costs them money. And if they're only making, let's say, £1,000 or $1,000 or euros on each car they sell, and some of the manufacturers are making that little, then if you have to buy £1,000 worth of carbon credits, your money's all gone. So they're starting to lose money now on their ICE cars, on their hybrids. And that's getting to be a real worry because they're to dabble into EVs, they lost money. They're now having a dabble into buying carbon credits, they're losing money. And if they don't buy the carbon credits, they get fined, they lose money. And they're in this downward death spiral where everything they do is just starting to cost them money. They got it wrong in the early days. Had any of them decided to, hey, let's have a go at EVs. Let's do it properly. Let's set up a factory, hell for leather, all in on them. Let's get the cheapest prices we can, get them into mass production, get the best software engineers, get the best designers, get the latest technology, put the spec right up there at the top of the market, and concentrate on the market which we are famous for, which is the small family saloons. Let the Teslas and the Rivians and let those, the Hummers, let those go for the top end of the market. But the legacy auto's strength is in the family saloons and the small little 5-door hatchbacks. Had they gone for EVs in that range, in the price range of £20,000 to £30,000, they'd have cleaned up because nobody else was doing that. Tesla, the starting price UK was £40,000. Some of the Mercedes starting price £45,000, £50,000. And so the bottom half of the market was totally empty. That's where they could have made a real killing. But that would have also taken their own market. So the Ford, for example, would have stopped selling their petrol Fiestas and sold the new EV, whatever that one was going to be called. So it was this catch-22 that they didn't want to make really good EVs because that would kill the ICE business. But if they don't make really good EVs, the ICE business is dying anyhow. And they just find themselves in this death spiral. And they're just paying out more and more in costs that they lost from having a dabble into EVs, to the fines they're getting for not hitting emission target, to the carbon credits they're having to buy to try and just stay in business. And there's no way out of it. There really is no easy way out of it. There is one way they're never going to do, and that is to go all in on EVs. Now, you might say, well, why not stick with ICE cars and hybrids? Well, we'll know that by 2035, every country is going to be banning ICE cars. And if your particular country isn't, it doesn't matter because every other country is. China at the moment has just hit 94% EV sales. That's their ICE sales have virtually disappeared. Norway is also, I think, 93 or 94% EVs now. So there are countries around the world which, even if your country is not going to ban the cars, half your market is disappearing because they just aren't buying ICE cars anymore. Norway, they just don't sell them. Nobody wants them. So this is the situation they're heading towards. Their existing market is collapsing, their finances are collapsing, the battery electric vehicle venture has failed dismally and cost them billions, and the only way out of this is not to retreat back into ICE, because that market is already collapsing. It's shrinking every day. Every time a country like Sweden just announces they're up over 50% EVs at the moment. And a lot of countries, the EV market is growing. UK, for example, is now over 20% of all cars sold, new cars, are now EVs. So these existing ICE markets are shrinking. And sooner or later, if they concentrate all their efforts onto ICE cars, they'll find that the market they're selling into, and this is all of them, this is dozens of companies, Legacy Auto, they'll find the market has just gone. They'll be fighting each other for a very, very small and shrinking market. Meanwhile, the likes of Tesla, BYD, NIO, XPeng, some of those, they'll all be hitting mass production and starting to make a profit on the cars and actually raking it in. And when they do that, they can drop the price of the cars. And when they drop the price of the cars, that shrinks the remaining ICE market, etc., etc. So there's again the vicious spiral downwards. And the only way around this, which they'll never do, is for them to say, okay, right, we have to abandon ICE cars, we have to abandon hybrids, and we have to go 100% all in on EVs, and we have to tackle the market that we're the strongest in, and that's the small family cars or the small 5-door hatchbacks. If they were to do that, they are going to kill their own market, but that market will taper off anyhow. But they have a chance of actually real effort in a year or 2 years' time, getting their act together and then launching onto the market these new budget EVs in the small family car and the small budget 5-door hatchback range. But that's a leap of faith that they can't take. They just won't do it. You mean abandon everything we've done, everything we've built up over 100 years and gamble it all on us making decent cars that customers will buy and the market will be bigger than the one we're in at the moment? That's a hell of a gamble, and they're not going to do it. So it's, at the moment, it's I suppose the way you could best describe it is they are just perpetuating the company for as long as they possibly can, grabbing out all the profit and bonuses, share dividends and everything, just bleed the company dry, because it's the band playing on the Titanic deck. It's going down. It's just how long it's going to be before they actually disappear, and how much money they can, I wouldn't say steal, but they can drag out of the dying company while it is still a going enterprise. So, sorry, Legacy's gone. Whatever people say about ICE cars not catching on or anything else, they are. They're booming all over the world. You'll find some countries here and there. Germany just stopped all the subsidies, and consequently they stopped selling EVs. Well, not quite, but they EV sales dropped dramatically. But that's a very temporary thing, because another company nearby, Netherlands, they've just had the best record year for EV sales ever. And so it swings roundabouts. But if you look at the world picture, the market's growing quite steadily. It's a real nice booming market. It's not booming at the same rate as it was. That won't happen until we get the very small budget EVs. So like the Tesla Model 2, like the BYD Seagull, like the Dacia Spring, like the Renault 5 and the Citroen EC3. These are the cars that are needed, but they're still not at the price that they need to be. I mean, Renault 5, for example, the only model they're selling at the moment is €33,000. €33,000. The Renault 5 is a small car. It is a small car. It's the size of a Clio in physical dimensions, almost identical. I know there's a bit more space inside, but the car itself is about the size of a Renault Clio. It's a small car. It's €33,000. So they are still trying to pocket money, profit from the EVs, and they'll never do it until they come down and start selling at the sensible price range. So Citroen EC3, for example, that's supposedly coming out at €20,000. And at that price it will sell. But unfortunately, it's not such a good car. Doesn't have a great range, doesn't have great performance, doesn't have a great spec. They really have cut corners to try and get the price down to €20,000. And it shows, but it'll sell. Every car sells. I mean, Dacia's, not the Spring, but Dacia's, the petrol car, the Duster and the others, they're budget cars. They're cut down. Some of them don't have electric windows. Some of them don't have remote locking, don't have air conditioning, but they're really cheap cars, and so they sell. And that's what's missing from the EV market. But that's going to change, because BYD, Tesla, other Chinese companies, they're going to be releasing budget models in the $20,000 to $25,000 euro range in 2025. And when that happens, the ICE market's going to disappear virtually altogether. If you can buy a brand new Tesla Model 2 for £20,000, it's got a range of 250 miles, charges 10% to 80% in 10 minutes. Staggering car. Yeah, you're not going to sell ICE cars against those. And that's the biggest problem, is that these legacy auto companies are running out of time. They're slowly running out of money, but they're much more quickly running out of time. Because if these budget EVs from BYD and Xpeng and Dongfeng and all these start coming into Europe, even with tariffs, and they're going to be in the €20,000 price range, they're going to kill off an awful lot of the old legacy ICE sales. Why would you spend £25,000 on a petrol version of a car when you can get an electric version for cheaper? So there's no easy answer, and I am afraid I'm going to have to say that the legacy auto won't survive. I think they've gone past the tipping point where they're too late. If they wanted to switch over to EVs and concentrate on mass production of the budget models, it's going to take them 2 years minimum, probably 3. And yet next year, 1 year away, we're going to be seeing the BYD Seagull, the Dongfeng, the other cars, the Tesla Model 2, hitting the market. So by the time the Ford and the Stellantis and the General Motors efforts come out, the market will be dominated by Chinese and Tesla. So don't see a way out. And I think all we're going to see is that the directors and the shareholders and everyone will just keep on taking money out of it in terms of share buybacks and dividends, bonuses, stupid amounts of millions for salaries for the executives, until they just literally run out of money, which won't be very long. Anyway, that's it. If you got your own comments, please let me know. If you can see a way out of it for Legacy Auto, let me know in the comments below and we'll explore that. But for me, I don't. So thanks for watching. I'm Dave. If you've enjoyed this, please click the like button. If you want to see more, just subscribe. It's totally free. Just click the subscribe button. And also, if you hit the notification bell, we'll notify you every time we launch a video. I'm Dave.